Welcome to another episode of Kiss My Assets.
The transparency, the openness, the communication is more than you could expect. I'm sold.
Don't let the fact that you don't know something or don't know enough about something hold you back.
I knew I wanted to invest. What better way to invest than to invest in what I already know that I love, which is real estate.
It was initially the 12% return, but it quickly turned into the people.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kiss My Assets. I'm Bart Deal, Director of Marketing here at Neighborhood Ventures. And today I'm joined by some wonderful women, Heidi, Bella, and Amanda. Do you guys want to dive in real quick and give a quick intro as to who you are and what you do here?
Yeah, so I'm Heidi Butler. I do financial operations in the company.
I'm Bella Hoffman, and I'm an investor relations account manager.
And I'm Amanda Schwicht, and I am the digital marketer here.
These three are instrumental to the success and everything we do here at Neighborhood Ventures. And they also have incredible opinions on finances, multifamily, and also just life perspective. They did a podcast last week. So if you guys haven't seen that yet, go back and give that a look. It's an awesome podcast. But today we're going to talk about three important things: mentorship, networking, and community. And we're going to get the perspective of these three wonderful women. So to lead off, guys, I want to get started and ask you guys, who are your mentors?
I've got a lot of mentors, and we were actually just talking about this right before we started recording. There's so many different attributes I take from different people, so different mentors. I have a few female mentors in my life. One of them is actually an investor with us. And then she's a mentor to me in the idea of I love the way her outlook on finance, her outlook on independent finance, her relationship with her spouse and their finances. But finding the right mentor is finding somebody that has the attributes I think that you're looking for in someone, and then trying to find a way to apply those to your life.
Definitely. Yeah, I have multiple mentors, and one of them is male and one is female, but I think I take different things from each one. Surprisingly, the female mentor that I have, we don't necessarily connect on like an emotional level, but she gets me on like the business level and the financials and the numbers. And she's even shared with me, that's who she is. She was raised in a male dominant family. She worked in a male dominant career, and my emotional side or like spirituality mentor, he is my yoga teacher, and he is somebody that's completely different, but both of them bring certain things to the table that help make me a better person. And that right there, like the variety is something that's contributed and made me who I am, and I love having both, but each of them bring different things.
That's so interesting. That if I think about mentorship, usually you think it's roles reversed. You know, that you're gonna have a female mentor that helps kind of your emotional, your spiritual state, and a male mentor. And so that's interesting that you kind of connected and gravitated towards people that kind of defy the boundaries of what is normally expected of them.
And it like pushes me to think more hard-headed. One thing that she said to me that I carry with myself, especially when I'm leading a team, and it really applies to like corporate world, but she's like, you speak from the mouth and you don't always have to speak from the heart. Or the head. Like sometimes when you get into these deep conversations, you want to think about how you feel, and then you want to overthink things in your head, but she's like, just say it how it is, like say it from the mouth. And that's something that, just hits head on for me and for conversations and tough conversations too. But yeah, she's great.
I like that. That's
she's
really,
intense.
That's really good advice.
Yeah.
Amanda, what about you?
I've had quite a few different mentors over the years. Like at some of my previous jobs, there was one gal who, she always kind of like saw what I could be more than like what I was, and like I always wanted to rise to be that type of person for her.
Yeah.
So that she made a big difference and really pushed me to like challenge myself in career and stuff. I'd say nowadays, especially like with career and life, like you actually are I would say are one of my mentors.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. That's sweet.
That's so sweet.
Somebody's looking for a bonus.
Yes, yeah. Just remember that around Christmas, please.
Okay, will do.
I'd say the other one is I think back to the Matthew McConaughey speech of like, who's my hero? And I think like a person I consider my mentor is like who I want to be 10 years from now, and then who I was 5 years ago. Because 5 years ago, I definitely acted with a lot less fear, caution, and I just took the risks. And I want to like aspire and do that more often in life. But then also the person 10 years from now, like having that hindsight and just being able to say, I'd rather live than regret and say, what if?
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess my follow-up question to all you guys is maybe two-parted. It's how did you find your mentor? And then also, do you guys think it's weird asking for someone to mentor you?
I was surprised, I've asked a few people to mentor me in specific areas over the years, how much people are willing to share the knowledge that they have. Like, I think if people feel like you're genuinely trying to improve yourself, good people that should be mentors are never like shy away from the opportunity to like share what they've learned. And so I don't think it's hard to ask. It's hard, in my opinion, to kind of filter out. I've noticed, especially like with mentors, I get a lot of advice in a lot of different areas. Like they want to kind of cover all different bases. So then being able to like pick out what's the most applicable from what you're trying to achieve from them, and like what doesn't serve you. And that's kind of a weird balance trying to figure that out too.
I think both of my mentorships kind of came without labels. It didn't start with me asking, can you mentor me? It was more, one was a subordinate, I don't know if that's the right word, relationship. She was my general manager, and she led me as a manager on, because she was who I reported to. And then it was really when I left the company that our relationship continued on, but like the conversations that weren't about business anymore transitioned into different topics. And that was something where we just committed, like, look, like, let's keep meeting up once a month. And some of the times we meet up, it is more, quote, mentorship, if you want to put a label on it, but sometimes it's not always mentorship. As to where my yoga teacher, it did start through a yoga retreat, and then from the yoga retreat escalated into him wanting to practice his skills for what he calls like conscious leadership, and he, I was almost like a test subject for him, and it just continued to grow from there. But one thing I also wanted to touch on with that aspect is all of us, like us as women, we always are looking for other people to inspire us. It's important for us to tune back in and be like, who can we inspire? And that was a moment where I had that moment where I was like, look, like I want to give back what ladies in my life have given me and what has brought me to my level. And I actually was asked to be a mentor for a 13-year-old that I started babysitting when she was like 7. And it was like the weirdest feeling actually being asked to be a mentor, because I was like, wait, like what does this role consist of? Like what is it?
Yeah,
But
I
really,
feel like you never feel credible enough.
Oh, no.
to
yeah,
be
you're
someone's
like,
mentor.
what? And
Yeah.
the mom had asked me, and it was, I mean, obviously I felt like it was like a big hug. Like she was like, no, look, like just in the small, like in and out conversations that we've had before the babysitting and after the babysitting ends, when we get home, you're somebody that I would love for my daughter to be able to talk to. And so we meet up probably once every 2 months or 3 months, and her daughter and I just have a relationship where I can be that third party that's not mom or dad.
Yeah.
And so that's great too, is like being asked to be a mentor. I think that's when you hit a different level of like knowing where the hard work is being shown.
So what does it entail in like your mentorship? Like how does that, what kind of thoughts go into that, and how does that kind of play into the responsibility that you take on as well?
So we a big portion of it, and her mom agreed with me, is like keep things private, because the moment that information is shared, it breaks the trust of the 13-year-old. And obviously if anything was unsafe, or that would be escalated, but it's more so like open-ended questions, like getting her to talk. I remember the first time we went out, we went casual things, shopping, and her favorite lunch spot, which was the Nordstrom inside the mall, because she likes tomato soup. And it was like me asking her a lot of questions, and then however many months later, on the third visit that we had together, she wouldn't stop talking the whole time, and she was sharing all these things with me, and I just loved it because she felt comfortable. And then I was able to get information from her, and then also like ask her follow-up questions to like get her to share more, and then sprinkle in advice, or like maybe not advice, but like, let's look at it this way. You're struggling with this issue at school with these girls. It shows more of what they're going through. So diving into it that way. But it's very casual, where we're like going out, we're doing things that she enjoys, manis, petties, and then, just talking through those issues.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I'm sure she loves that extra
She
perspective.
does.
And you might give her the exact same advice as her parents. But I feel like, especially at that age, it means so much more coming from like a different adult that you choose to trust because you like them.
Yeah. That's true.
Amanda, what about you? Haven't heard. Is it weird to ask for a mentor?
I mean,
How did you find yours?
oh, I don't think I've ever actually specifically asked for a mentorship. With my old job, kind of like you with the supervisor, it was kind of, we both came into the position, and at that time, like, I was thrown from being pretty much operations to a store manager within like 2 months. And she was new to the area, and we just had to kind of dive in together, but it really quickly became a partnership and a lot of trust. And so then we would talk outside of our outside of work and stuff like that. And I think with that, it was one of those friendships you didn't expect that developed naturally. And that's kind of where I like that a little more, because I don't know, I'm an awkward person, you know this. And even though I enjoy kind of the awkwardness, I don't really feel like throwing in the label saying, hey, will you be my mentor?
Yeah.
It then, I don't know, it makes me sometimes feel a little nervous.
So what I've learned in like the corporate setting is that it's not uncommon to ask superiors or people that are 2 levels above you for mentorship. I have a friend who's works in the corporate office at Sprouts, and he went to a VP and was like, hey, I want to grow in this company. I'm not kissing your butt. Can you mentor me? So on a bi-weekly basis, he meets with her. She's a woman, and they talk about, what he's doing on a daily basis to improve himself inside of work, outside of work. It's similar to a business coach. And I've seen some, awesome results even just hanging out with him. And then for me, I would say like a lot of my mentors come in the form of accountability. So I have plenty of friends that I met through playing football. I have friends who I've met through networking events that have become part of my community, that we on a monthly basis will sit down and we'll just talk about life. What are we struggling with, within work, with outside of work, and then we kind of help each other work through it, which has been super awesome having, 4 or 5 people versus just one person kind of giving you their opinion. But with that being said, I touched a little bit on community, and I want to, give the ball to Heidi, because I know she has a really big opinion on, what it means to be a part of a community and how it's impactful to herself. So how do you feel a community impacts you as a woman?
Yeah, so for me, I have a huge kind of opinion about community and like who you surround yourself with. I remember hearing this growing up. I can't even remember where, but a few different places. You're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. And so to me, finding a community of people that meet and match either what I'm trying to achieve in my life or is already achieving it. So I found this to be true. If I surround myself with people who just want to go out and have a great time and just live for like post-work life, I naturally start gravitating towards that kind of a community and that kind of a lifestyle. Where when I surround myself with people that like have achieved or are working to achieve the same things I am, that work really hard, save money, they invest, they're buying real estate, they're investing in multifamily. Those are the people that I then start acting like. They're not the ones going and, spending $500 on dinner every night. They're the people that are just as happy with like John Krasowski, our boss, just as happy grabbing a quick sandwich at a grocery store and coming into work, because what's more important is not necessarily the meal every day, but getting the things you need to done. So for me, community is about surrounding yourself with people that are either like-minded to what you're looking for or people that are living what you're looking for.
I think that's a great insight, especially knowing like you've made some recent big like purchases and changes in your life. But it sounds like some of your friends have been doing the same thing as well.
Yeah, me and my husband are currently buying a duplex, getting into the multifamily game. But yeah, like a friend of mine, we closed on ours in about a week and a half, and a friend of mine just closed on her first fourplex this last week. So any of my people that are investing in multifamily, they're also investors, and multifamily companies invest in our company itself. They create the lifestyle that I also would like to live. So it's kind of nice to be in that kind of a group.
Yeah. I think for me, community has come a little later than most, just because growing up, I'm from California. So obviously when you move somewhere, you develop a new community. But even growing up and looking at my past, and it's recent that I've reflected on this, but I played sports all throughout school. And so my community was constantly built for me through sports. When it was basketball season, that was my community because it's all I was around. When it was snowboarding season, I was on the race team. Those were the people I was
You were
around.
on the race team for snowboarding?
Yeah, that's
Dang.
a thing.
What the heck? It's like a Disney Channel movie.
That's a
I
thing in
know.
Tahoe.
I can't even sled.
It is, yeah, it's interesting when you live in a spot where there's a ton of snow, and that's just normal. But I always had the communities formed for me, and it's like a blessing and a curse because it's great in the sense that you're always surrounded by somebody, but then when you stop the sports, you don't know who your community is or what you want your community to be. So then when I stopped the sports, moved to Arizona, I joined a sorority, and I don't resonate with that style of friendship, I guess I would say, anymore. But one thing that the sorority did teach me was so much of the commitment that comes with your community. In order to maintain your community and find your community, you have to commit to putting effort into it. And so that was something that I really learned on top of some core values from the sorority. But once again, it was a community that was given to me, that I was in because that's where I was placed to be. That was the best fit. And so now I'm at this spot where it's like very recent, because then to wrap things up, after that, I jumped into a role at Lifetime where I had a full team, and like that became my community because I like eat, slept, and breathed Lifetime. Tongue twister. And so now I'm at this spot where I'm like, wow, I have a job, I have work-life balance, I can create my own community. And I'm finding that it's the most empowering thing when you surround yourself with those that you want to be like or that bring value to your life. And so for me, community has come in a lot of different ways. I'm still figuring it out, but I think the biggest thing to remember is that you have to devote time to your community, and you have to put in effort, because it takes effort to continue to grow your community.
Absolutely. Work-life balance, that's a crazy thing once you discover it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's great.
How does having a community impact you guys as women, though? Like what, we're talking about like how great it is, but when you're going through things, when you need help with a decision, I know Heidi talked about the impact of just like her friends are buying homes, they're making good financial decisions. Now she is. What about you two?
I think they challenge me. Like they challenge me to think in different ways because my community that I'm finding isn't like me in all ways, but it challenges me to think different ways, to do different things. And so I think the value that it brings to me is like different perspective, and then also just like that commitment that I talked about. That's something that it really highlights, is like it takes work to like find your people, but once you find your people, it's you have a better quality of life, in my opinion.
Yeah. I have this one group of friends back in Utah, and it was really great the time that we spent developing that circle of friends, because we're all close with each other individually and as a group. And it was cool because each person showed me a part of myself that I really appreciated and enjoyed. And obviously I don't live there anymore, but one of my favorite parts about that is there's enough of a friendship that we can maintain that it's not someone I have to go see every single day or even like once a week to really make sure like everyone's cool. I probably ended up going a year without seeing a lot of them, and it's like no time passes. But it's great because like when you have the right people that support you, then you really get to understand yourself better.
Yeah, I really appreciate your self-reflection on that. With your community, you have a friend that may bring out, the empathy in yourself. You may have a friend that brings out, the motivation to get
Mhm.
things done. So that's cool that you have a friend group and a community that can help you see the good things about yourself.
Yeah. And I'll
Go
say,
ahead.
like, I've created a bit of a community down here. A lot of it is most of the people that work here at this company. We have a great community
Yeah.
style here. But
You guys are my friends.
yeah, we gotta live this, love this. But there's a lot like that it's pushed me to be as a bigger person. Like, think less about the short term of life and going more into that long term perspective Heidi was talking about.
And I think one thing, and I talk about having a great community, but I don't even know if this is ever talked about enough. But I would say it's been a very hard. It's hard to find women in a community, and it's just kind of feels like recently, at least for me, that the perspective of having women that you want to surround yourself with that have like-minded values and goals is a really hard thing to do. I don't know if it is for anyone else, but for me that feels like a big struggle. Like, and I'm 26, and I will say, like, majority of my friends that are women are like 40. I'm so proud of it.
I'm going to
that.
give an unsolicited opinion from a man. That's something I've noticed just on the outside, where I'm like, I can walk into a bar, I can walk into anywhere in sports games on and be a life best friends with this guy next to me.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And girls, it's just like, I feel like there's such a disconnect with like building a community, building a foundation of trust, and who's going to grow with me.
Absolutely. And I think it's also getting over, in my opinion, it's like maybe it's a concern of like, what are your goals? What are my goals? Do our goals clash? Do our goals align? And finding that right circle is like a really difficult thing. And then once you find it, you like hold on to it for like dear life. But I think you're right. Like, for a guy, like, my husband's the nicest person you'll ever meet. I mean, he can make friends with anyone, like anyone. And he can walk into any situation and like immediately have friends. And I think for women, it's number one, you can't go do that necessarily immediately with a guy, because there's always that like underlying tone of what's the intention, which always makes it a little weird.
Yep.
But then with women, it's also like, what's the underlying intention? Like, it doesn't always feel like it's going to just like naturally click.
Yeah.
Did anyone else ever notice that?
Oh, absolutely.
I think a big part of being in a community, being committed in a community, is just knowing that people are going to be different than you, but they're going to have a very similar viewpoint on life. Like, everyone's going through the same things. Everyone's dealing with, the prices of homes being way too high. How do we do that together? But, I think you guys all have a lot of really good insight on community. And that's more, I think Heidi referred to it as internal, and networking is external, where it's your business relationships, your professional relationships.
I would love to take credit. That was definitely Bella, though. She like
Was it
she
Bella that
nailed
said
one.
that?
She nailed it.
I think I said like your community is your inner circle, and then your network is your outer circle.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that for a second. Let's dive into the outer circle and the importance of it, and how do you guys as women network?
So it may come from like my background in sales, but I think the best way to network if you're nervous or just starting is you need to learn how to talk to people. And then the biggest way to learn how to talk to people is just by what I was taught was you find one thing that you can relate on with a person, and then you make conversation from that. You let the walls like fall down a bit, and then you can go into more conversation. But like if you go in with your guard up, and if you go in without a little bit of vulnerability, female to female, like it's just there's tension. And so you have to be willing to like get comfortable feeling uncomfortable in a way, and it's not gonna feel great right off the bat, but well, at least when you're starting, but afterwards it feels great. I mean, there was a time a few weeks ago where my friend had just gotten a new job for a tech software company, and they were like, hey, we know you're not fully hired yet, but there's this networking event. It's a startup. There's this networking event at Mountain Shadows Resort. Like, if you want to go, we would love to have you there, but also like we totally get if this is a little much. And she was like, can I have a +1? Like, can I bring my friend? And they were like, yeah, of course. Like, that was like music to their ears. But when we went to this, it was like we both felt a little weird. Like, not only are we in one of the nicest resorts in Phoenix, but also we don't know anybody there. She hasn't even had her first day, but we walked out of there each knowing probably about like 10 more people. And it was great. Like, the feeling of like those people energizing us was something that was great. And we went in there feeling very uncomfortable. So throwing yourself in is my biggest piece of advice for networking. As far as how I got started, it was also remembering that kindness always wins. You can't like try to be snobby or try to one up other females. You have to be kind, and just if you're genuine and kind, like, I promise you will get the furthest in life, and that's what matters.
I kind of like call that customer service mode. You're just going to be happy and excited to be there. And
Yeah, it's so easy if you just don't overthink it. Like,
I'm not the biggest fan of like classic sayings, but I think this one holds true, where your net worth is your network. I can't count the amount of times where I've gotten opportunities because of just someone I know. You know, I feel like I'm a natural connector. I like to go out and meet new people. I take a little bit opposite approach though. If there's something that I don't know about them, or like I don't like to dive into the common interest, because that's something I can always fall back on.
Okay.
You can ask a lot of questions to someone about an area where you have zero knowledge on. So like Amanda, she knows a lot more about D&D than I do. And I'd love to ask Amanda, about D&D. And I feel like we have a bond a little bit over that now, where it's like, hey, we're going to do this someday together. And granted, that's a little bit different. That's not networking, but in the same scenario, if I'm on the golf course, and I meet some guys, it's like, what do you guys do? The common questions, but then like, what are your interests? What do you guys do for hobbies? And then I find something that's completely way out there typically, and that's where I dive in.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, I taught a dating course, and this is the best advice I feel like I ever gave. And it was for situations when you want to get to know a person or really get excited and like build a connection, is you got to bring out like a puppy personality. And it's just being happy, being excited, and being engaged, like a puppy would be to meet a new person. And I feel like my default is falling back onto a cat, where it's like, I'm just going to hang back and chill and just relax and observe. But then really just kind of getting into that, like, pump yourself up, get excited, go engage with people. And that's where you're really going to find that big difference. And maybe it's in the common interests or unique, and it's probably a bit of both, but that's my main networking advice.
Yeah.
Heidi, how do you build your network?
That's a good question. I just think about like both of the way you both approach things, and I think it's so funny, and I'm trying to think of it. Is it like a male female thing, and not trying to put like a gender label on it, but like I feel like if I come almost too curious into a thing, like it's like almost dismissed, like I don't know anything. That's me.
Yeah.
So like that's like and not that I'm not curious about anything, but finding kind of, for like, I kind of agree with that, like finding the common ground makes me feel like I'm at least somewhat credible to someone versus like ignorant to something. And that's just like my view.
That's funny because go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like that's a really big difference on like how men versus women approach things.
Yeah, when you were saying that, I was like, that's a guy thing.
Yeah.
Like girls would be like, why are you asking me so many questions?
I know. I feel like I was like an interrogation. Like if I went up to you and like, I don't know, like, do you like football? You like football?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm like, what do you like?
I like the Chicago Bears.
Oh my gosh, tell me all about the Chicago Bears. I feel like an idiot, like immediately. Like I and like as a girl, like that's how I see that.
I get that.
And I think that you think I'm an idiot because I know nothing. But if you said I like Chicago Bears, I'm like, oh, so and so did fabulous this season on the team. Like you know, they did great and they went all the way. Antonio Brown, I don't know, Tim Tebow, whatever. And then all of a sudden now I've got some credit in your mind because you're like, she knows football. She's kind of cool. Like that's a good person.
Yeah.
Well, I think you gave the stat in the other podcast, but it's like women need to feel like 100% confident before going into something, where men it's 40%. And that's exactly what this sounds like.
Yeah.
You want to know a topic inside and out so you feel like you can contribute, versus like, oh, I know like teams exist. When you said Bears, I thought that was baseball. So
it is also baseball.
Okay.
They're both.
When it comes to networking, I know we talked a little bit like how once you're actually doing it, but how do you guys actually go out and network? Is it LinkedIn? Are you going to events? Is it just natural meeting? What's that look like?
I went to a couple events last year. We were looking for, guests on podcasts, things
Yeah.
like that. But it was interesting, like the different relationships I built. And I think I met a couple girls from the Phoenix Business Journal, and like we chat every now and then. But it's kind of interesting, like meeting people that I know really I wouldn't have like run into in other ways. So I think events are a great way to do that.
Yeah. Mine are, I mean, I went to that one event and I'll go to more, but when looking, just what did I do before attending one networking event? Saying yes to opportunities where you want to say no to them.
Absolutely.
It's the
Yeah.
most natural way to network. But I mean, a lot of people join the gym, like luxury gyms in this area, Lifetime, just to network, especially the
I was
Biltmore
literally going to
location.
say gym saunas.
Yeah. So it's like, obviously, like, I'm not networking at Lifetime. I worked there for so long, but when I go to the gym, I just want to get my workout in and leave. However, it's when you run into somebody and you're like, oh, how have you been? It's not just like, oh, I've been good. How have you been? It's like, yeah, I've been good. I actually did X, Y, and Z. Like, what have you been up to? I know you have a daughter. Like, is your daughter doing well? Like, have conversations that aren't surface level. Like, God forbid you're a little late to your 2 p.m. appointment because you went and had a conversation with somebody, but like that conversation could bring you your next big job. It could bring you your next podcast guest that you need. It could move mountains for you.
Absolutely.
And so just saying yes to those. I mean, I remember somebody helping me with my resume, and then he was like, hey, I have this event to go to. Do you want to come with me? And I went with him, and then I met a whole different array of people. And now one of those is actually somebody who's a friend, but also turning more into a mentor, where we hike once a month together. And so it's just it's getting comfortable feeling uncomfortable and just letting networking be a part of your everyday life and not having to make it something huge.
Totally.
But like you talked about the gym and stuff and comfortably uncomfortable, and I feel like it's that good kind of sore emotionally.
Yeah,
That's
From
a good way
a
to
good
put it.
workout. Gotta
Mhm.
just feel that good sore.
You gotta lean
Mhm.
into that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think for me, it's like it goes along with your like piggyback off of it, like saying yes to like going to things that I wouldn't want to go to. And I love socializing, but I am very much like an introverted person when it comes to my like personal life. But I've met my community of people. Like I created my community by networking. Like I went out and somebody said, oh, come to dinner. I'm going to, I've got a bunch of friends that are coming. Go, and I meet the most fascinating group of people, right? And so then, I'm going to lunch with someone else in that group now. And so then, your circle expands by that networking aspect of just like, shaking hands and like rubbing elbows with like new people and new types of people in new worlds. And that's so unique.
What are some events or things that women can do to network better? Like for men, like I know there's like golf is a big one. I know that, enjoying sports, going to a bar together, watching games is a big one.
Why do you assume that women don't go to a bar?
No, I just,
Watch
I'm not
sports?
assuming that. It's just I don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, I think it's really interesting to follow people that inspire you on social media that are interested in or that share content that you can resonate with. And then at that point, I mean, if they're huge figures, it probably won't go anywhere. But I started following somebody a few years ago that when I was learning how to budget, and following her, like even just reaching out to her and being like, she posted something like, or in one of her links, it was like, if you like my content and want to like buy me a coffee, like here's my Venmo or something like that. And I was like, this girl straight up taught me how to budget and has led to, the starting point of like how financially responsible I am. Like, I'm going to buy this girl a coffee. And like, I don't even know her. She's some big social media person or influencer or whatever you want to call her. And then she had messaged me and she's like, thank you so much. Like, if you don't mind me asking, like, how'd you find me? Like, what are you interested in? And we started talking, and then she followed me back, and like, we keep in touch here and there. But then I started looking at who she follows, and I was like, wow, I like these people, I'm going to reach out to them. So that was something that was, that I use social media as a tool for, is like more than just getting your content in, scrolling through, like actual like conscious scrolling. But that's a way. And then another way, and a big tip that I learned from somebody super successful that, I had lead me in portions of my previous career, anytime he meets somebody that sparked the slightest bit of inspiration in him, where you leave the conversation feeling like, wow, like that was a good conversation, or wow, I want to adapt this practice. You put their name in your notes and you write the biggest thing that you guys connected on or that stuck out. And then you'll be surprised what just writing it one time does. But when you see that person again, it'll almost like be an immediate trigger for a conversation on what you last spoke about, and it'll segue into more. And so it sounds weird, it sounds tedious, but like just running into people like on your way into the car, like jot their name down in your notes, what you took from the conversation, and then you'll always have something to fall back on when you go into the next conversation. Or you might need something in life down the road and you have a contact right there. You can find them on LinkedIn, I'm sure, nowadays.
For sure.
Yeah.
I've got a community I'm a part of, and I definitely recommend women to join. It's called the Phoenix Next Gen Women, and women do good. And so they're a community of entrepreneurs, journalists, publicists, any kind of field, really. Photographers are a part of it, just across the board, next generation women. And it's a community where we talk about kind of what's going on in our world, but also like what good can we do for the community. So finding groups like that, definitely recommend. Also Meetup. I don't even know. Does anyone here know what Meetup is?
I do.
Love Meetup.
Yeah.
Finding activities and then finding people in those activities. So like, if anyone knows me, I like wine. Like, I love a good wine tasting anywhere.
I didn't know
that. So love wine. But like finding a community, like going to like a wine paint and sip, or going to, a wine tasting, finding something that we immediately have something in common on. And then I learned about how, like, their world inside of it. Met some amazing people doing that just have, like, changed my outlook on a lot of different things by, like, finding one activity that, like, brought us together. But now, they're in a completely different field of work than I am, and they brought it to us.
Now, with Meetup, is that an app or, like, a Facebook page?
It is an app and a website.
Okay.
And you can there's like hikes on there where people will lead hikes. You can even be like a host of a meetup where you can be like, oh, I want to introduce people to like my hobby. I'm going to take them on a hike. I'm going to pack them lunches. It's going to be X amount of dollars. Like, people hustle on there.
Yeah, it's a cool little community. It's like that Airbnb experiences, but kind of more local vibe.
Yeah.
One I found and I like is, I'm trying to remember if it's called like Phoenix Girls Who Walk or Girls Who Walk. And they do like a walk every Sunday, different locations, sometimes like Tempe Lake, that type of thing. Yeah. That's a great area to go meet people.
Hot girl walk. Gotta go get that hot girl walk in with your dog or your baby and your fanny pack.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
One weird one for me that I ended up like meeting quite a few people was I actually went to an adult prom a few months ago. And I'll say like I just decided to be that like puppy dog customer service self where like I'm just gonna live and just be as extroverted as I want. And I ended up meeting like a couple girls by the water cooler, and by the end of the night we had a dance circle of about like 10 to 15 girls. Most of us had never seen each other before, but like didn't matter who left. Like if it broke apart, like 2 songs later you would always find us all back together, and I still check in and chat with them. But it's kind of fun just finding people and supporting and just being willing to be that person.
Yeah. And this, like, I had a full circle moment a few minutes ago when you said wine, because I didn't even know that about you. And like, for those that don't know, I worked here for probably 3 months, and we're different apartments, but we crossed paths, but like I didn't know that about you, and I love wine. Like, I'm a big wine girl.
We're gonna do a wine tasting.
Yeah, so the thing is like, so like I grew up like 2 hours away from what we call the mini Napa Valley, but I'm part of wine clubs. But like the moment you said you were into that, it like sparked me. I was like, wait a minute, like I'm into that. Like it makes me want to go to talk to you, plan a date. Like that is networking. Like that's what I was saying too. And community, where you find something in common and you just like let it grow from there.
And here's how it works. I mean, we go do something, and then you're like, I've got another friend who loves wine. I'm gonna bring her. And I got a friend who loves wine. Let's bring her. And now all of a sudden, your group's now 4, 6, 8 people. Yeah. And you bring a few, I bring a few, and now we've got like a community of people with all a common interest, but completely different walks of life.
Yep. And completely different people. Like we were just talking about our Enneagram types the other day, and I was like, oh no, I'm not your numbers. I'm not your numbers. I'm Bart's numbers, but I'm not your numbers. So I mean, even that's great. Like you don't have to be exactly like each other, and I encourage you guys to not be like like whoever's listening, don't try to be like everyone else, or don't only be friends and network with those that are just like you, because you'd be surprised what some challenge could do in your life, like what some uncomfortable feelings could do.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm going to dial it back just a little bit from a professional standpoint. How do you guys nurture your network? How do you stay in touch with them? What are you guys doing to make sure people know that, like, hey, I know Bella talked about writing their name down in notes, and next time you see him bringing it up, but what do you guys do?
There's sometimes just like little check-ins and stuff. There's I had a girl, and honestly we met at an airport, and every so often we'll send each other like a little Facebook post or something about like our first common interest, and just kind of expanding on that.
Yeah, I'm checking in on big things they're telling me about that they're doing. If I'm, networking with somebody in a different career field and they're
Mhm.
looking at, doing this expansion, I'm following up every few months asking how that expansion's going. How's this new, area? I say in a network, depending on what maybe your intention is behind it, once a month, once every few months, just kind of staying on their like radar, and I just
Mhm.
like check back in with them. But
Yeah.
it also depends on like what's this network doing for me, or what am I looking to do for this network as well.
Yeah. I would say for two things that I think are really important with your professional network is, one, don't be afraid to share business. So when I see something on LinkedIn, or I hear someone like, hey, I need to get my car detailed, I know someone that does, that
You know
details
a guy?
cars. I
Mhm.
do. And I'm immediately,
Hey, I know a guy too, though, so.
yeah, but no, that's what I'm
I'm
saying. But it's
kidding.
immediately I'm texting that person, I'm connecting them. So I think that's a huge part of nurturing your network, is finding ways to connect others with no selfish interest.
Kind of like a referral system, but like you're not getting a referral.
Yeah,
from the
there's
city, kind of.
nothing about it. Just like, hey, this guy is in real estate investing. You're a broker, John and Jameson. You guys should meet.
Mhm.
And then the other aspect is, don't be afraid to ask. Like there's a limit where it's, this guy's asking too much, but also like, hey, we've been working together for years now, or we've been crossing each other's paths. Let's actually do something now. Will you make a investment in our REIT?
Mhm.
Things like that.
Yeah. And thinking of ways to, like, when you think like, oh, this might be able to help somebody in my network, spreading that. Like the other week you taught
sure.
me about Miro.
Yeah.
And granted I used it this morning, I'm still rusty, but I sent it to my friend who is in his startup, and I was like, hey, you were talking to me about project management the other day, and I really think this app would be beneficial for you. And so it's like sharing what can help other people win, because you want to see your network win.
Yeah.
Totally.
I like that.
And then you bring it back. Like I think it's like exactly that. And then saying, hey, I shared this with somebody. Like, and I think it builds both directions of the network, both ways. It's like, oh, I passed this on, and like, just so you know, like I loved it enough that like passing it forward. That's great.
Also gives you credibility.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you're giving people business, when you're giving them ideas that may help them, even if it's unsolicited, where it's like, hey, I know this is an area of your business that needs help. It could be marketing. You may need to organize your leads better. HubSpot. So you send someone HubSpot. 2 years later, they're coming back to you like, hey, guys, you guys changed my business.
Even something as small too as articles. Like we're all reading so many articles. Jameson right now has me, reading 3 a day, and I even forwarding some of those articles to those that I think it could benefit.
Totally.
I saw one about this article calling people who like come up with all these ideas but don't act on them. The article called them idea volcanoes, and I was like,
I know those people.
yes, I
as
know those
soon as
people,
you
but I
said
was in a
that,
conversation with
a
somebody.
list came to my head. I was like, yeah.
I was in a conversation with somebody, and they were talking about how they had somebody on their team that's just like an idea volcano, and I just thought it was funny. I was like, hey, here's a quick funny read to look over, and I sent that to them. But just keeping in touch and making effort to keep in touch. I mean, even if it's not to benefit you in the moment, you never know when it can benefit you, and that's networking right there.
Yeah.
It's playing a long game.
I love the
Definitely.
article idea though, because I think that's so smart. That's an easy because then you can either continue the conversation on it, and like you have a full conversation about something you've said them, or it's just enough that like they know that you've thought about them, and,
Right.
like you're connected again.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so last thing I want to do, I'm going to put you guys all on the spot.
No.
And as it pertains to mentorship, networking community, I want you guys to give a sentence of advice for each thing to other women out there.
Can we think on this for a sec?
Okay, so I think my first one, mentorship, it's always a no unless you ask. Like, if you don't ask, or if you don't, kind of put yourself in the situation, it's going to be a no. So you have nothing to lose by asking, or by like leading into like a mentorship idea with somebody. So for mentorship, it's always a no unless you ask. So might as well ask. But for networking, to me, it's find something that really interests you, go to an activity on it, and then start meeting people. Because it's making the connections that maybe you're not thinking about that actually like impact you the way you need to, like it to help you in your little community. And then your community one, especially for women in community, I think it's just continually hype people up. I don't think there are enough women out there hyping each other up enough. And I think it's a really sad situation that I feel like, and I only speak for myself, you see a lot of women feeling like we have to tear each other down because there's only so many slots open for women to succeed, that because maybe there's 10 slots and only one woman gets a slot, and so all the rest go to men. And so hyping each other up and like being able to support each other is so important. And what we need to do is just make more spots, like make more room for more women. And the worst thing we can do is tear each other down. So just hype the women in your community up and like continually bring them to the status they need to be.
I would say my biggest one for mentorship is you actually have to apply what you're learning in the mentorship. Meaning you could go and receive advice and you can receive different viewpoints, but if you're not applying them in your everyday life, it's not doing anything. I think there's a definition of insanity. It's like, doing the same, doing something
over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah. So it's just like you actually have to apply it. And it falls back on what I was saying earlier. One of the best ways to apply something is to teach it back to somebody. There's actually a coaching style where it's like you go teach your new employee how to do something. And the best way for them to actually learn and acknowledge it is saying, all right, I want you to go teach this to a different team member. I want you to go act like you're teaching them for the first time. And it's sometimes like those moments where you're speaking and you're like, oh my gosh, I just said that. Like that just clicked. And you have to, so basically put it in action. Find a mentor, but that's the first step. But second, put it to action. As far as advice for your community, I think my biggest piece of advice would be to go text your somebody in your community or put them in a group message after this podcast and say, I want everyone to share 3 pictures that show your high and 3 pictures that show your lows of the past month. And maybe it's not pictures, maybe it's just having them say it, or like you ask your community in a one-on-one conversation, but knowing your community and what their highs and what their lows are can help you resonate so much more with them. And it's a quick way also to just get like, or maybe you don't ask for highs and lows, you just send in a group message, send me 3 highs in the past week, 3 pictures, and with no description. And then you're involving yourself with each other in a short and simple way. And then as far as networking goes, what I said earlier, just get comfortable feeling uncomfortable.
I'm going to go out and then narrow in. With networking, I think it's just putting yourself out there. Do the things you wouldn't expect yourself to do and just find reasons to say yes in your life, and you'll find a bigger network of people. Community, I think it's look at someone that you care about almost unconditionally. Like they could do whatever, but you're always going to be in their corner. And then make sure that you're feeling that way about the people that is closest around you and foster those relationships. Really feed that and nurture it. And then with mentorship, I think the first thing you got to do is figure out what you want in your life, even if it's just an attribute, quality, something you want to be. And then go find someone who is that or like that. So that way you can learn from the things that they make them successful in that way, but also the things that you might want to just do differently. So it's the way that you need your life to be. But you got to figure out what you want from that first.